Welcome back, everyone, to the Player Zone YouTube channel. And with the Champions League starting in about 25 minutes, I thought I might as well get in here early and do my match week 1 Champions League predictions. Obviously, a lot of teams here I may not know, so I've done a bit of research in the background of how they've gone so far this season, how they've got to the Champions League, and I thought I'll give it a good old crack. Obviously, I know most of the teams, but we've got a few teams in there between the Danish league and the likes of other Swiss leagues that I don't really know much about, but I've given it a good crack and I've got my predictions this week. Similar to the Premier League predictions, we'll do a bit of a ranking system. 3 points for a correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and we'll track how we go throughout the season. And you guys can join along in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. How wrong have I got it, or how right have I gotten it? And if you're from one of these countries, support some of these teams that I don't know as much about, let me know what you think in the comments down below and how you reckon your team will do this season. Let's get straight into it. Starting with the Tuesday night fixtures, and the first game is in Milan. It is AC Milan hosting Newcastle United. Obviously, AC Milan coming off that huge 5-1 loss to Inter last week. They look to bounce back. Obviously, haven't played the great football in that game, but until then, they played some very, very nice and easy in the eye attacking football there in Serie A. So still towards the top end of Serie A, plays a very good football. As far as Newcastle is concerned, obviously it's sort of a quiet, dull patch the last few weeks. Of the 3 losses ended this weekend with them beating Brentford 1-0 from the penalty spot, but still not playing that great football I expect from Newcastle this season. Underperforming so far and still lacking that confidence and form. And to go away to the San Siro is a very hard place to play, and I think they just fall short in this game. I've got AC Milan winning this one 2-1 in the opening game of the Champions League. Next game we've got is Young Boys versus RB Leipzig. Obviously, Young Boys have had a solid start to the season. They qualified with the Champions League, beating Maccabi Haifa, but only securing 3 wins and 2 draws so far to start the Swiss League season off. I guess the biggest thing for them is getting back in the Champions League. They need to beat every season now to get that growth of the club and develop it. Always a really, really hard place to go. I think I've seen that a few times with being a United fan, going there a few times, and obviously watching other games with other teams travelling to Young Boys there in Switzerland. It's been a hard place to travel at times, so it'll make it a bit harder on RB Leipzig. But as far as Leipzig are concerned, they're playing very, very good football to start the season off. They obviously beat Bayern in the Super Cup there, and they're only behind Leverkusen right now, who are absolutely killing it in the Bundesliga. In the shout, I guess, to Xavi Simons, who've been very, very good for them to start the season off. Obviously got Timo Werner there as well, some good quality talent there in that Leipzig side, and the team that could go deeper in this competition. In this game, I expect them to win at 2-0. It'll be a tough 2-0, I think. To get the first goal will be very, very important for them, but if they do, be smooth sailing for the rest of the match. Next game is Feyenoord hosting Celtic. 2 teams interesting to the form at the moment. Feyenoord had 2 early draws, then it goes on with 3 wins they've gotten in the last few weeks. Sitting 4th currently in the Eredivisie. They've drawn to Fortuna Sittard and Sparta Rotterdam, but their last 2 games having 2 wins by 6-1. So hitting some good form, obviously against 2 lesser opponents, but very, very solid football. They're playing attacking, aggressive football, which is good to see. And they come out against a Celtic side right now who may have got knocked out of the cup by Kilmarnock, but have had a solid start, obviously beating Rangers in the Old Firm derby 1-0, getting back to good form. It's Kyogo Furuhashi who's been the main man at the moment, was in great form. I think he's had 4 goals and 2 assists so far in the SPL, as Celtic currently are top of the ladder there. It's a hard place to go in anywhere in Netherlands, especially in Feyenoord. It'll be hard work for Celtic, but I think they get the win here. I've got them winning the game 2-1. The next game takes us to Italy. It's Lazio hosting Atletico Madrid. 2 teams well and truly out of form, but worst of the 2 is Lazio at the moment. Lost a lot of their high-quality talent over the summer, a few to Saudi and the like. They had a poor start to the season so far. They've had 3 losses, and I guess a huge win coming in those games there against versus Napoli. But right now, I feel like the talent in the squad is not going to be enough. At home, it's been very important. They can protect home form in the Champions League. And obviously, coming up against him is that Atletico side. He's had a very rocky start to the season. 2 wins, a draw, and a loss coming from their opening 4 games. But the biggest loss obviously coming to Valencia recently, the 3-0 loss there. Obviously, Valencia's looking to have a strong start to the season, but for Atletico, we expect their standard to be higher at the moment. Their form's not quite matching where they should be stature-wise and aura-wise. I hope they can pick up in form. We obviously know how Simeone plays so well in these competitions. as such, I got them winning this game 3-1. But don't get me wrong, two teams who are out of form, so it could swing either way. The next game we've got is PSG hosting Borussia Dortmund. PSG, another team we're going off to an average at a start. Position 5th at the moment with 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss to go with it. Obviously, the whole unsettling process of moving out Neymar, moving out Messi, Ramos now leaves the club. A lot of moving pieces, so they're trying to just get that gelling together. A lot of new strikers and wingers in that front half of the field. So just trying to get this team united and playing together. And hopefully that will change over the season. But I'm assuming they'll win the league and they'll come back and do well. But they want to get a good start off in the Champions League. And that being at home is going to be important as they face Borussia Dortmund, who have not looked as good either. They've had draws to Bochum and Heidenheim, leaving them in 7th at the moment. But it looks like the sides have improved and are slowly starting to come. But for Dortmund, where they were last season to where they are now, it looks like a bit of a drop off. It's obviously hard to continue to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, especially with their squad not being as deep and as solid as the likes of Bayern Munich and Leverkusen now, who have had time to develop into this strong start of the season. So I think Dortmund are on the back foot a bit here, especially going away and playing in France. As such, I've got PSG winning this game at 3-1. Now, we've also got the next game here, Manchester City versus Sevilla, I think is how you pronounce it. Don't get me wrong, I would not have a clue about this team as such. Like Man City, they've been flawless so far this season. The best team in the world at the moment. I feel like it's going to be one of those games where they just dominate and dictate throughout. Being at home as well, tough start for this team here. As such, got Manchester City beating them 6-0. We come to the penultimate fixture of the Tuesday night games. It's Barcelona hosting Antwerp. And for Barcelona so far, they looked as good and probably even better at times as they did last season. The only slip up coming in the opening game, a 0-0 draw to Getafe, where red cards were plaguing the momentum of the game. Obviously in their new home now, not at the Camp Nou, but always going to be a fortress no matter what. A hard place to travel away to Barcelona. As far as Antwerp gone, they've only had the 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss so far this season. Meaning in the Belgian league, they're currently sitting 5th. Obviously a win off the top. They got past AEK Athens to make the competition, so a decent result there, but came up against the mighty Barcelona in the form they're currently in, looking like one of Europe's top teams, and Xavi got this team playing very, very good football. So I think it's going to be hard work for Antwerp. I've got them losing this game 4-1, and Barcelona absolutely dominating. Final game to talk about from Saturday is Shakhtar Donetsk hosting FC Porto, and for me, one of the most interesting fixtures from this first match week. Two teams probably level on quality and talent, and two sides probably hoping to push to make a round of 16 effort there. Obviously, the top of the Ukrainian league so far for Shakhtar Donetsk, and yet to lose, and appears to be a very, very solid unit going into this game. Haven't conceded many goals and looked very, very ruthless, it appears. And also Porto, who are also unbeaten, top of the Portuguese league. So two teams right now in tip-top form, playing some very, very good style of football, it appears. I haven't watched either side, but from the looks of it, from the highlights, they're looking like a very, very solid team. So two teams at their peak of their powers, clashing. I just think the quality of the Porto side will be just enough to get them over the line. And don't get me wrong, going away to Shakhtar Donetsk, playing away to those guys, will be a hard effort. But I think Porto in this game 2-1. We start off with the Wednesday night fixtures. It is Galatasaray hosting Copenhagen. Obviously, Galatasaray qualified past Molde to make the competition and currently sitting 2nd in the Turkish league. They've got an amazing squad. We've seen some of the signings they've picked up. You've got Ziyech, Zaha, Dries Mertens, Davison Sanchez in there, just to name a few players. Their quality is probably enough to send them through to the round of 16. It starts their competition against Copenhagen, who currently have 19 points from the 8 games this season, and just qualified, winning 2-1 in aggregate there. But sit at the top of the Danish league at the moment. So another team in strong form. Another match that'll be very, very exciting to watch. But I feel like the quality of Galatasaray, them playing at home as well, is going to be too much for Copenhagen to handle. And as such, I see them winning this game at 3-1. The next game at that same time there, Wednesday night, is the Champions League strong team, the mighty Champions League team, Real Madrid, hosting Union Berlin. Their first time in the Champions League, I believe. Going to be an uphill battle for Berlin. Obviously, Real have been arguably the best team in the world at the moment on current form. Jude Bellingham's hit the ground running for them. We've seen the depth they've got in so many different positions. Even Hosselu, who seemed like a a reactionary signing has been very, very good for them. Recently scored a match-winning goal there. They've only conceded 3 goals so far in 5 games this season, so the defence is as solid as ever, despite Thibaut Courtois being out injured. As far as Union Berlin goes, a very, very great season last year, competing for the Bundesliga basically 80% of the season. They've had a rocky start of the season so far. 2 wins, 2 losses, obviously including one of them when they were down to 10 men, but a team that's going to look to try and refine their form, and it's not going to come against Real Madrid. I'll give you the hot tip. I've got Real Madrid winning this game 4-1. Our next game, it takes us to Germany. It is Bayern Munich hosting Manchester United. 2 teams in polar opposite in form. Bayern have come off a tough draw with Leverkusen, conceding a penalty in those last dying minutes and drawing that game. But outside of that, have been very, very good and unbeaten so far this season. Harry Kane, Tell looking very, very dynamic as well. That midfield is as strong as ever. Goretzka's dominating a midfield. And their defence, Alphonso Davies refound his best form, I think. And he's on the list of many top European clubs as he comes towards the end of his contract. In terms of Man United, the team has really struggled to start the season off. No really convincing performances yet today, and obviously getting dictated off the park by Brighton and Hove Albion, 3-1 at home's not a great sign. So far, the stuff off the pitch has probably impacted what's going on the pitch, and the performances have not been good enough at the moment. The pressure is building on Erik ten Hag, but as I said on the podcast, if there's any sort of United result, it'd be so United to come back and beat Bayern on the road because of how comeback FC the team's been the last few seasons. So, with all that being said, though, I just think Bayern is too strong, and on the home deck, it's going to be very hard for United to come out with anything from this game. I've got them losing and Bayern winning this game 4-1. Next game I'm going to talk about is Sevilla and Lens, and 2 teams who are in awful form, to be honest. Both teams sitting towards the bottom half of their respective ladders. Sevilla's company is 17th, but we know how good they do in Europe, and obviously qualifying through winning the Europa League. A similar sort of story to last season, where they started the season so poorly and ended up picking up the scraps and winning the Europa League. Wouldn't be surprised if they finish 3rd and get back in that competition and win that again, but at home here, it's going to be a big battle for them, hopefully to get their season turned around and get a big result here, coming up against Alon's side, who have been awful in the Ligue 1 this season, currently conceded 11 goals in those 4 games, and shipping goals for fun, and sitting dead last currently in Ligue 1. So for Lens, it's just going to be a chance to try and get some form away from the Ligue 1 and try and get their form back on track, because they've played so well last season. Historic sort of season for them, but they're going to be a very uphill battle. Not as much of a tough group, I guess, in many ways people think, but still, I'll be surprised they get many points from this Champions League season in the current form they're currently in. I've got them tying this game though, 1-1 against Sevilla, but don't get me wrong, very hard to read these 2 teams in the current form they're in. Next, we go back to England, Arsenal versus PSV. Obviously, Arsenal, we've seen how good they've been so far this season. Arguably the 2nd best team in the world behind Manchester City, just because how far they compete with them. They're just starting to kick in the gear. Obviously, that big hurdle conquered beating Everton away from home. They've struggled with that over the last few years. The team is looking very solid. There's quality stars all over the pitch. The revitalisation of Vieira there in midfield as well, who didn't look like he got it looking last season. He seems to be in great form as well. All things going in the right direction at the moment for Arsenal. In terms of PSV, they've hit the ground running so far this season. Look like a house on fire. They won all their 4 games and beating Rangers up in 7-3 on aggregate to qualify for the Champions League. So in some very, very good form. The reverse fixture will be very interesting to see how Arsenal go away from home at PSV, but at home I think they'll just get the better of them. They'll play the better football. They'll play more in possession. As such, got Arsenal winning this game 3-1. As we come to the last few games, it's Braga hosting Napoli. Braga so far this season has not been at their best, it appears. 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses, to a slower start the season. We know the quality that Braga have, so I wouldn't be surprised if they can turn that around this season in the Champions League. But they come up against the Napoli side, who also are just trying to find their feet a bit. The 2 wins, the draw, and a loss. Obviously, that loss coming to an out-of-form Lazio, but I think they'll come and come good this season, Napoli. We know how much scoring options they've got. They're obviously still adjusting to the Kim Min-jae loss. There's a bit of defensive imbalance at the back, but that will come over time. And I feel like Napoli always do well in the Champions League. They always find themselves in a quarter-final or around a 16 tie. In this one, I feel like it's going to be one-way traffic. Despite playing away from home, I got Napoli winning the game at 3-0. Now we come to the penultimate game of the first match, Real Sociedad hosting Inter Milan. Obviously, Real Sociedad not been in great form. A lot of teams coming into the Champions League so far in not great form at all. They've got 1 win, 3 draws, and a loss coming into this one. probably the lowest sort of ranked Spanish team to be in the competition. Always a team that's there and thereabouts, but their quality is nothing against Inter the best team in Serie A, arguably up there with Manchester City, Arsenal, Real Madrid as a top team in the world at the moment. They've been very, very impressive. 13 goals, 1 conceded in their first 4 games, and obviously that 5-1 massive win over their rivals AC on the weekend, looking very, very prolific in front of goal, and playing some exciting brand of football. It's great to watch them play, and the way they chopped up AC Milan just showed their quality. In this one, I think it's going to be a one-way traffic again. I've got Inter beating Real Sociedad 4-0. Now the final game from the first match week, another one that would be very exciting to watch. Keep a keen eye on this one. 2 teams very evenly balanced and in decent form as well as Benfica and RB Salzburg. Benfica obviously won the cup to start their season off there in Portugal, and only had the solo loss so far this season to put them in 4th, but only a point off the top. 3 teams equal the top at the moment in the Portuguese league. We know how good Benfica can be. Always a challenge to go there and play in the Champions League, and always produce high quality talent. So you never doubt Benfica out, but they come against Salzburg side who've got off to a great start to the season there. 6 wins out of their 7, only conceding 4 goals. So a very solid team, a very solid performance. Another team that always produces some really, really high quality talent over there in Austria, and always a team that's hard to go and play away against. Obviously playing away to Benfica, they're going to struggle, I think, at times. But I think Benfica, just their quality, a little bit better than RB Salzburg. So I've got them winning the game 2-1. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings my match week 1 predictions for the Champions League to an end. A lot of teams I don't know really much about at the current point in time, but we'll learn as the Champions League groups go along. Let me know what you think of these predictions down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more football-based content and podcast content itself. I really appreciate the support in the recent Premier League videos. I'll keep trying to pump out these Champions League videos as well. How good is it to have the Champions League back? It is one of the best competitions, the best competition in the world, so it's always a great watch. I'll be doing these predictions week on end and maybe some reaction videos to some big games over the weekend. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of these predictions, and I'll see you guys in another video very, very soon. See you then.